Does Mufasa have superpowers? Is Timon a cult leader? Is The Lion King set in a dystopian universe? That's just a sampling of some of the weird, wild theories that fans have come up with about the Disney classic. Join us as we dive into all these and more as we break down both the live-action and animated Lion King movies. We just want you to, be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared! We'll be prepared. For what?
For some outlandish theories, and really hope you can feel the love tonight as we dive deep into the movies and provide some thought-provoking content. Okay, everyone now? Hakuna Matata. Let's go! Starting us off, we want to look at an idea that has us reconsidering the entire Lion King story. It's been pointed out a few times on the internet before that Mufasa may not be the greatest leader in the world, but this theory suggests that Scar is actually the hero. Mufasa's society seems to operate entirely on his concept of the circle of life. Lions are the top of the food chain, and every other animal contributes to the shared ecosystem in some way. Some animals have to be eaten, but it's all necessary to keep the balance of animal society for everyone. This all sounds pretty good until you think about it for a few seconds, after which it completely falls apart. First of all, in the world of The Lion King, most animals appear to be smart and able to talk. So killing an animal is like killing an intelligent human being.
Scar, don't look at me that way. Help!
This system may work great for the lions and their pals, but is probably less fun for the other animals. Secondly, this system completely isolates the hyenas, who as scavengers are an important part of the ecosystem too. If you look at the films through this lens, Mufasa becomes an evil dictator and Scar is a hyena-friendly revolutionary. This next theory has to do with Nala, a childhood best friend of Simba's who later falls for him. This theory looks into Nala's patronage, putting forward that her father is none other than Scar. How did this theory get there? It's kind of a doozy. Firstly, it uses the real biological behavior of lions. Apparently, male lions are known to leave their packs in order to avoid procreating with the same gene pool. When the male lions do this, they procreate with a pack of female lions, meaning they father the entire generation of babies. So, if Simba and Nala were from the same herd, as presented in the film, they would actually be siblings.
Ew.
Let's hope that's not true. But if this theory is correct, then Scar would be Nala's father, meaning Simba and Nala would only be cousins. Improvement? What other evidence is there? Well, it's all in Nala's appearance. Her green eyes reflect her mother, Serafina, but they also look a lot like Scar's. Coincidence? It could be, but in designing characters, using such a specific eye color has to be a conscious choice. Also, Disney recently unveiled a deleted scene where Scar throws Nala off a cliff to get the Soul Stone, so that's a big giveaway. With the X-Men most likely coming to the MCU sometime soon, you have to wonder who will be cast as the new Storm. Will it be Alexandra Shipp, Halle Berry, or someone new? Well, we have our own pick. Mufasa the Lion. Okay, we'll explain. In a theory by Reddit user Ostrich Made of Clay, our old pal Ostrich lays out a theory that Mufasa can control the weather. As a spirit in the sky who can reach out to Simba from beyond the grave, who's to say that Mufasa doesn't have some swing over the activity of the clouds he calls home? If that's the case, could Mufasa be intentionally causing the drought that befalls Scar's kingdom? Would he intentionally starve his own people in order to get back at an old enemy? That seems pretty hardcore, but keep in mind that Mufasa is trying to coax Simba back to the kingdom. Beyond his motives, how much sense does it really make that Scar's governing caused the drought? How could bad lion politics result in the entire ecosystem revolting? It makes much more sense to us that Mufasa had some supernatural sway over things. Maybe he should have sent some force lightning down on Scar, Palpatine style. This is the rare theory that has actually been confirmed by the creators. As it turns out, Scar and Mufasa are not biological brothers. In a recent interview, Rob Minkoff, director of The Lion King, spoke about how the creative team based the social system of the lions in the film on the behavior of real lions. Specifically, they cited how, as we mentioned before, there is typically only one male lion or king in a pride. When the king gets old, they are often killed by a rogue lion without a pride. After that happens, that rogue lion is usually killed by one of the male cubs of the pack once they are fully grown. In other words, the natural world just performs the story of the Lion King on its own. Apparently, lions that are biological brothers usually form a strong bond, so it would make sense if Scar was a rogue lion from a different pride instead. If nothing else, this theory would mean that Simba and Nala are not cousins, which would make the rest of the movie a lot less weird. It's also extremely cool to know that the filmmakers built such an emotional story around real animal behavior. Another theory that's been confirmed by the filmmakers, we want to take a minute to discuss the film's similarity to William Shakespeare's Hamlet. That's right, this talking lion movie bears a lot of similarities to one of the great works of English literature. Let's get into the details. Like The Lion King, Hamlet is about a prince grieving the death of his father. In other words, the dead king visits his son from beyond the grave, and in both, his villainous uncle is behind things but convinces the prince to leave the kingdom. Then the prince returns to get revenge on his uncle, and it goes a lot better in The Lion King than it does in Hamlet. In a recent interview, director Rob Minkoff revealed that the movie was not intended as a retelling of Hamlet, at least not at first. It was only after a story executive pointed out the similarities to the play that the creative team started to move the story in that direction. Intended or not, the eerie similarity between the two stories lends a lot of gravity to the film, and it would be interesting to see Disney do this again. Maybe Elsa will go full Lady Macbeth in Frozen 2. Another long-held internet theory, this is one that has been debunked but is still interesting. If you've been on the internet at all, you may have come across some of the adult moments that are hidden in many Disney movies. We're talking about the reference to bears in Inside Out, the tent Kronk pitches in Emperor's New Groove, and the excited priest in The Little Mermaid. Another surprising adult reference usually included in lists like this is The Lion King. It's a word that appears to be written in the sky. Looking at the scene, it's easy to read the word as SEX, but according to animator Tom Ito, however, the word was actually SFX as in special effects, as a tribute to the special effects team. We have no idea what was going on in The Lion King's production, and maybe that's true, but it sounds kind of fishy to us. Maybe Tom got caught and made up this phony explanation in order to cover for himself. Either that, or Mufasa is taunting his son with immature messages from beyond the grave.
Really?
Yes.
This next theory is sort of similar to the idea of Mufasa controlling the weather, but we think it makes a lot more sense. A fan from Reddit named Spixton put forward the theory that the drought is not naturally occurring, but has to do with Simba's behavior. If you recall the film, the drought happens after Simba leaves Pride Rock and ventures into the jungle. It then ends when Simba returns and defeats Scar. In the meantime, Simba is in the jungle with Timon and Pumbaa, and the entire ecosystem seems to be thriving. See where we're going with this? The idea is that the rains follow Simba, or maybe the rightful king of the jungle. Meaning that by leaving, Simba actually caused the drought to befall the Pride Lands. If the lions are so connected to nature that they can ascend into the sky when they die, maybe nature can sense when something is wrong. Simba, as the rightful king, gains control of the rain, and wherever he goes is blessed with it. Meanwhile, Scar, a pretender king, cannot make the rains fertilize his ecosystem.
What did you say? Nothing.
It seems that nature is really into this lion monarchy thing. Who's in for Lion King 3, Timon and Pumbaa install democracy? Moving on, we have a theory by Reddit user Space Communist who also takes issue with Mufasa and Simba's regime, claiming that they are evil dictators exploiting the weaker animals. As extreme as this seems, Space Communist goes further, suggesting that the elephant graveyard glimpsed in the first movie is the site of a mass murder. Yeah, this one is pretty dark. The theory goes that the lions are predators who have intimidated the other animals into serving their kingdom. The lions eat all the other animals and hate the hyenas because they're scavengers who would be competition for food. Unwilling to share with anyone or allow someone to be stronger than them, the lions attacked the elephants and massacred most of them, ensuring they would never be overthrown. This would explain why there are so few elephants in the opening scene, and also what exactly the elephant graveyard is. In the film, it seems like the elephants could have been wiped out by some sort of natural disaster or famine, but it's entirely possible they were massacred by the lions. This would explain why young lions are not allowed to go there and why the exiled hyenas are banished there. Like we said, dark stuff. Another theory dealing with the dark side of politics suggests that the entire film is a metaphor for the British colonization of Africa. Hey, we didn't expect to be getting this heavy in a Lion King video, but that's what happens when you go down the fan theory rabbit hole. Anyway, this theory casts Scar and the hyenas as British imperialists looking to control and exploit Africa. After gaining the trust of a local ruler, Scar betrays them and begins hoarding resources for himself and his collaborators. In this theory, Scar's drought is a metaphor for colonial powers draining Africa of its resources. Honestly, we can kind of see it, especially since the British literally used lions as a symbol of colonial rule. This would mean that Simba and the other characters are natives of Africa struggling against their oppressors and fighting the decades-long battles of independence. All of this symbolized by two lions wrestling on a cliff. This theory even makes room for Zazu, who would represent a British missionary. This is why Zazu is so strict and why no one seems to like him that much. Sure, why not? Moving on, this interesting theory examines the motivations of Nala, putting forward that she was never actually in love with Simba? Hear us out. Nala's most important function to the plot of The Lion King is that she pulls Simba back to Pride Rock after he's been exiled. This sets up the third act where Simba does battle with Scar. This theory by Reddit scholar Dr. Magnificent posits that Nala is very aware of the importance of what she's done and she only coaxed Simba back to Pride Rock for political reasons. The Good Doctor cites a deleted scene where Scar makes romantic advances towards Nala, and when she refuses, he banishes her from Pride Rock. The theory goes that Nala went to find Simba on purpose so that he would come home to defeat Scar. Even if you don't take the deleted scene as canon, it seems much more compelling that Nala would look for Simba instead of just running into him in the jungle. Also, if Nala is manipulating Simba, it would explain how they fall in love so fast, especially when much of their courtship is spent with Nala angry with Simba about leaving. It may be dark and tragic, but this theory at least gives Nala more agency in the story of the film. Speaking of hidden motivations, this next theory by Reddit savant The Farnell focuses on our favorite meerkat Timon. The Farnell points to the first scene where we meet Timon, where he suggests that Simba would be a useful ally because he'll grow into a big, strong lion. After this, Timon introduces Simba to the concept of Hakuna Matata, and they become friends.
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata?
It's even implied that Pumbaa and Timon became friends the same way, when Pumbaa was a lonely outcast and Timon took him under his wing. The theory states that Timon is a sort of animal cult leader in that he targets the emotionally vulnerable and feeds them a new feel-good life philosophy. Once they trust him, Timon is able to gain the advantages of having bigger, stronger friends and is protected from the predators of the jungle. Could Timon's empire continue until he's befriended outcast elephants and rhinos and he has an army of indoctrinated loners? It's possible, and it sure sounds like a cult to me.
Hakuna Matata.
If you thought that the British colonial theory would be the strangest, most politically charged theory in this video, you thought wrong. Our next theory comes from Reddit political analyst Dahuoshan, who draws a parallel from the plot of the film to the history of the Soviet Union. It seems far-fetched, but the more of it you hear, the more it starts to make sense. In this reading, Mufasa's kingdom is Tsarist Russia, a society that benefits the ruling class and marginalizes and exploits the underclass. This theory equates Scar to a revolutionary like Lenin who leads the underclass, in this case represented by the hyenas, in a popular revolution against the monarchy. The drought would be representative of the problems of the Soviet Union, which included poverty and famine. This would make Simba a Khrushchev-like figure, a politician who replaced the revolutionary government with something more in the middle, inheriting a lot of the problems of the original monarchy. Can't say we expected to get this heavy into political science in this video, but as they say, it's not the destination, it's the journey. Maybe we can have Lion King 4, Timon and Pumbaa install democratic socialism. Moving on, Reddit detective Combustible Compost has come up with a very compelling argument about another Lion King character, Zazu. Zazu is a bird who serves as an advisor to Mufasa and a kind of parental figure to Simba. Our friend Combustible Compost theorizes that Zazu is not the loyal bird he appears to be and is actually a traitor working in cahoots with Scar. The evidence makes a lot of sense. The idea is that Zazu hates Simba and is tired of being abused by him. Approached by Scar at the beginning of the film after Simba humiliates him while singing
Oh, I just can't wait to be king.
Scar tricks Zazu into collaborating on a plot to kill Simba. Charged with distracting Mufasa while Simba is trampled by wildebeests, Zazu is shocked to discover that Mufasa is the real target and tries to get help. Scar knocks him out, but Zazu was still part of the plan and thus cannot tell anyone that Scar killed Mufasa. Makes some sense, doesn't it? It also accounts for some other details, as for how Zazu knew that Simba and Nala were at the elephant graveyard or why the hyenas didn't eat him there. And if that weren't enough, Zazu is clearly modeled on the character of Polonius from Hamlet, an advisor to the king who helps his evil brother take the throne. This theory was worked out by YouTube channel Film Theory as part of the series on how many characters really die in Disney films. Surprisingly, Lion King was near the top of the list, despite not many characters dying on screen. In their incredibly detailed video, the folks at Film Theory use lion diets, the estimated height of Pride Rock, and physically counting out animals to break down just how many characters die in The Lion King. Their count is alarmingly high, eventually landing at over 1,500. How does this happen? Well, the theory goes that Scar ruins the ecosystem of Pride Rock by promising to feed the hyenas. Not just any hyenas, but the massive herd that serves as his army. A herd of hyenas this big would not typically exist in the wild, and in order to, they would need a lot of food. While Mufasa's kingdom appears to eat only what's absolutely necessary, the influx of hyenas would cause Scar and his army to kill hundreds of extra animals each year. And if Simba was gone for about 5 years given his change in appearance, then Scar would have killed over 1,000 animals. That's pretty messed up. Finally, we have a theory that pertains to the world of The Lion King as a whole. This theory, by Reddit historian The Names Early, operates on the similar logic of the famous Pixar theory, meaning that it questions the idea of talking animals in the first place. Is this just the style of the film, or could this take place in a dystopian future where animals have become hyper-intelligent? An outlandish idea? Definitely, but there is something interesting about it. It would explain why some animals can talk and some can't, as maybe some were granted with intelligence through experiments like the apes in Planet of the Apes. It could explain how the animals are able to make reference to human things like throw rugs and why they've established a monarchy. Maybe these concepts come from a distant memory of humanity. It could also explain why the only ape we see in the movie, Rafiki, is considered the most intelligent because he is the closest in biology to a human. So what happened to the humans? Were they eaten by the animals? Overthrown in a revolution? Hidden away in colonies? Killed in a climate disaster generations ago, only to have animals survive and evolve? It's unclear, but it was probably something horrific. Or it could just be a talking animal movie. Jeez! So, what do you think of these Lion King theories? Do any of them make sense? What did you think of the new film? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to ScreenRant for more lion-based content.